the initial occasion, I genuinely perceived myself as an alien within my own family, was not at a celebration or holiday gathering. It was standing solitary beneath the huge oak tree that cast its shadow over my cherished Aunt Lillian's burial. I observed my relatives congregating, their beautiful black gowns and suits presenting a strong contrast to my simplicity. Thrift Shop Ensemble. My name is Sai, and I have spent 31 years striving to belong to a family that regards wealth as essential as oxygen. Aunt Lillian was the sole individual who ever instilled in me a sense of significance, despite the irony that this was required for existence. Camilla's voice pierced the melancholy atmosphere as she approached Quinn, exclaiming, "Look who decided to show up." Derek followed her closely, akin to impeccably trained show dogs. "I am astonished you could spare time from your trivial pursuits. Charity project." I aligned my posture and compelled a courteous smile. "It pertains to women." Camilla and Aunt Lillian also helped at the shelter, prompting Derek to scoff as he adjusted his position. Aunt Lillian would never enter such a place, despite the Italian silk tie. The recollection of Aunt Lillian discreetly organizing donations and advising abuse sufferers emerged in my thoughts. However, I maintained confidentiality as she consistently requested that her volunteer activity remain secret and separate from her. Quinn, the lawyer, announced while checking her phone about the judgmental children. I should proceed to the reading. Nevertheless, Camilla's manicured hand extended abruptly. "Cease obstructing me, dear. Did no one inform you that the reading is for instant attention?" I claimed that I am only immediate family. Heat ascended to my cheeks. Aunt Lillian was indeed my mother's sister. However, we are all aware of Aunt. Derek smirked at Lillian's sentiments regarding your branch of the family tree. Quinn, weren't you the one who stood out? At least you had the decency to appear uncomfortable. However, the lawyer was not. It is imperative to be explicit regarding the attendees to avoid any unnecessary expenditure of time. Camilla added her smile, sharp as a razor. What could Aunt Lillian possibly depart from somebody who dedicates their days to feeding soup to the needy? I observed them retreat, adorned in their costly attire. An elderly woman with kind eyes approached me as her sneakers clicked against the cemetery path. Filled with concern, I overheard her softly say, "I'm Margaret. I worked at the country club with Lillian. It was a pleasure to meet you." I struggled to suppress the knot in my throat regarding your aunt. "Margaret frequently spoke of you, continually surprising me with her pride in your accomplishments. The shelter staff said you were the only one who understood life before I could answer my phone. Received an SMS from Chelsea, the shelter's director, requesting your immediate presence at the center. Significant news regarding Lillian. I observed my cousin's departing figures before returning my gaze to my own. I felt an instinctual urgency over this matter. Thank you, Margaret, I expressed. Squeezing her hand, I expressed my profound need for those words today as I approached my automobile, a dependable companion. However, the antiquated Honda Civic stood out conspicuously amid the expensive vehicles as I heard Camilla's laughter resonate. 10 years ago, the sound would have caused me to withdraw inside myself. Today, it does not. It simply saddened me. Amusingly, I overheard Dirk speaking to his sisters. She genuinely believed she would be present at the will reading, as if Aunt Lillian would bequeath anything to someone who I was unable to afford appropriate funeral attire when I entered my automobile with my hands clenched. I gripped the driving wheel till my knuckles became white. The last time I had seen Aunt Lillian was 2 days before her passing. She grasped my hand and murmured, "Patience, dear one. Everything will soon become clear." As I initiated the ignition of my car, I took a final glance at the cemetery where my cousins had vanished inside their chauffeur-driven sedan, likely en route to the lawyer's office to partition what they perceived as their legitimate inheritance. They were unaware that Aunt Lillian had frequented the shelter every Tuesday for the past 5 years, collaborating discreetly with me to assist women reconstruct their life. They were unaware of numerous matters. My phone vibrated again with another message from Chelsea. "Lillian has left something for you that you will want to examine." I shifted the car into drive, departing from the graveyard. My cousin's malevolent chuckle. Aunt Lillian always asserted that timing was paramount. Something indicated to me that Mom had one final lesson to impart regarding patience, karma, and the genuine significance of familial legacy. As I merged onto the highway en route to the shelter, I couldn't suppress a smile. Perhaps being an outsider was not that detrimental. Despite its negative aspects, it occasionally provides an ideal perspective to observe what others overlook, such as the women's refuge. It stood in stark contrast to the residences my relatives inhabited, a small three-story edifice with deteriorating paint. There was a modest garden in the front. However, unlike the cold marble corridors, this location exuded warmth as I walked through it. The familiar aroma of coffee and freshly baked cookies enveloped me like an embrace as Chelsea hurried towards me. Her gray curls bounced as I inquired about the burial, which was as agreeable as one might anticipate, I remarked while removing my coat. My relatives ensured that I was reminded of my position within the family hierarchy prior to Chelsea's response. Maria, one of our frequent volunteers, inquired from the kitchen, "Is it true about Miss Lillian? She has indeed passed away." I nodded, and Maria's eyes filled with tears, despite her having been here just last week. Chelsea gave me a knowing glance while assisting me in organizing the donation closet, as most of the women present were unaware of her background. She would arrive in her gardening attire, insisting on being referred to simply as Lillian, as the authentic Lillian. I was not the societal woman my cousin believed she knew, as I followed Chelsea to her office, recalling how Chelsea would bring her exceptional handmade cookies and claim they were store-bought to avoid appearing ostentatious. I laughed and then became serious, which makes what I'm about to present even more significant. It is significant that she opened her desk drawer and retrieved a sealed envelope, which she had submitted last month. Compelled me to vow not to present it to you until her departure. My hands quivered as I grasped the letter bore Aunt Lillian's excellent calligraphy, which inscribed my name on the front. She visited me that day. Chelsea softly informed me that she had been diagnosed with terminal cancer 6 months prior. She had several unresolved matters to address. I settled onto the chair opposite Chelsea's desk, the envelope weighty in my hands. Chelsea implored to open it. She had never disclosed her illness to any of us. At that moment, a disturbance occurred in the corridor as two women engaged in a heated argument, their voices escalating. Chelsea groaned, indicating that I should manage this. I took my time with the letter while alone in the office, tracing my thoughts. My finger traced Aunt Lillian's handwriting as I recalled the initial occasion 5 years ago when she discovered me volunteering here. Previously, I believed I recognized that laughter she had mentioned while standing in the doorway. Worn pants and a faded sweater do not appear intimidating. My intention is not to recount stories to the family. On that day, she rolled up her sleeves and assisted me in sorting donations for 3 hours. It became our clandestine Tuesday tradition. The familial outlier and the matriarch collaborating to assist women in reconstructing their taking a deep breath, I broke the seal and unfolded the letter. My dearest Sai, if you are reading this, I have already transcended this. Do not squander time in lamentation, as we both acknowledge my existence. Precisely as I have determined, the current priority is to guarantee that my legacy is preserved in the appropriate hands, specifically those of my children and yours. Cousins will convene for the reading of my official will. However, they are unaware that it has been 3 months. I recently made significant changes to my estate planning, which includes the deed for the shelter's facility. I acquired it last year when the former owners threatened to sell it. It is now yours, accompanied by an endowment to guarantee its ongoing operation. There is other information, but that will suffice for now. It will quickly become evident that you alone comprehend what I have always understood. Genuine wealth is not quantified by monetary value, is insignificant compared to the lives we impact. While others pursued status at country clubs, you dedicated yourself to assisting. Ladies discover their strength without disclosing any information. Await the official announcement. Occasionally, the most valuable lessons arise from unforeseen circumstances. With all my affection, Aunt Lillian, please examine the cookie jar in the kitchen. I have placed my secret recipe there. Last week, those women deserved authenticity rather than commercial imitations. My vision became obscured by tears when I retrieved the property deed that Chelsea had gently knocked on beforehand. "Are you all right?" she said, locking the door behind her. I handed her the letter. Observing her eyes expand as she read, she exclaimed, "Oh my God," she purchased. The structure she recognized as the shelter was in jeopardy, I remarked while drying my tears. While she was organizing the donation closet, she was, in fact, devising this plan. My phone rang with a text from Quinn. "We'll read tomorrow at 2. Not that it. Chelsea returned the letter, rubbing my shoulder. "What are you going to do?" I securely placed the letter and deed in my backpack, reflecting on Aunt Lillian's remarks regarding unforeseen moments. Initially, I stated while standing, "I will inspect the cookie jar." Then, I proceeded to do so. She intends to precisely follow Aunt Lillian's instructions, awaiting the opportune opportunity to reveal her true identity and familial connections. This essentially indicates that I distributed Aunt Lillian's materials throughout my modest abode. The property document was merely the commencement, concealed within my kitchen table. I discovered a USB disk containing bank statements and an additional sealed letter labeled "Read" following the will. I was startled when I connected the USB drive to my laptop. A solitary video file appeared, dated merely 2 months prior, labeled Aunt Lillian's. A fatigued yet resolute visage occupied the screen. "Hello, dear," her voice resonated clearly. "If you are viewing this, you have located the deed, but there is additional information to convey. I have paused The video required a moment. Even via the screen, her presence was so palpable that it caused pain. My phone buzzed again. It was Camilla this time. "I hope you are not too disheartened. Concerning the omission of tomorrow's reading, what were your expectations?" I initiated playback. "The lawyers will review a will tomorrow that my children and your cousins anticipate from Aunt Lillian. They will dispute over the house, the vehicles, the jewelry, and all the possessions they deem significant, but my authentic will, the one that a matter was filed last month," as she leaned closer to the camera, her eyes. "I have observed their treatment of you throughout the years. They pursued prestige while you constructed something significant. The shelter is not merely a structure but a beacon of hope for women in need. The majority and you are the one individual who comprehends that a knock at my door startled me. Through the peephole, I observed Quinn in the hallway, exhibiting signs of nervousness. "I know you're home," she said. Outside your car, I closed my laptop and opened the door. "Quinn, what are you doing?" She swept by me into the room, her luxury perfume overpowering in my confined space. "I wanted to ensure you comprehend the details of tomorrow. It is not. Isn't it personal?" I nodded towards my couch. "Would you like to sit?" She perched on the edge. "Derek and Camilla are uneasy and believe it is preferable for your absence. Concerned that you may create a disturbance. When have I ever caused a scene, Quinn?" She possessed the composure to appear. Aunt Lillian exhibited a distinct demeanor in her final years. Derek believes she was not thinking rationally while helping at the shelter due to her peculiar behavior. I observed the resolute woman on the video. She appeared to possess a clear understanding of her actions. Did she, however? Quinn rose to her feet. "She previously took us shopping, purchasing whatever we desired, but now she is donning old garments and lingering at a charity shelter, which is atypical." Perhaps she discovered something more significant than Quinn ceased her pacing, her gaze fixed on the documents scattered before me. I swiftly collected all the items from the table, which were merely work-related materials. She paused before the door, acknowledging the significance of the shelter work, and remarked, "Camilla is already speaking." The discussion regarding the sale of the shelter building indicates that the land holds significant value for developers, causing my heart to rush. However, I maintained my composure. "Maintain a neutral expression, do not raise your expectations. Everything is acceptable, it is preferable this way." She departed, gently closing the door. I resumed my laptop, pressing play on Aunt Lillian's video, stating, "I've bequeathed everything to you, Sai. I have bequeathed the property and all investments, but most importantly, I have left you my truth. Let them possess their own. Observe them tomorrow to reveal their true selves, then act when the moment is appropriate." I revealed my true self. The video concluded, and I accessed the final segment. With trembling fingers, my dear Sai, they exposed their true selves during the reading. Recall that true strength lies not in aggression, but in steadfastness to one's convictions. The official documents are with my lawyer Sandra Mills. Will get out to you following tomorrow's event. The shelter is yours, secured and endowed, along with the remainder. Your cousins are in for a significant surprise. Utilize it judiciously, dear one, and demonstrate what true familial legacy entails. It appears that I have folded the letter with great care, contemplating my affection for Aunt Lillian. Quinn's remarks regarding the sale of the refuge provided by Camilla's arrogance and Derek's conviction about Aunt Lillian's identity were why the phone vibrated once more with a message from an unfamiliar number. This is Sandra Mills. A meeting scheduled for tomorrow at 4:00 p.m. following the reading. At my office, please bring the letters and USB disk. I responded with a simple affirmative. Subsequently, all of Aunt Lillian's documents were compiled into a secure folder. Tomorrow, my cousins will convene to allocate the contents. They believed it was their heritage, unaware that Aunt Elle had devised the ideal lesson. Regarding karma justice and the authentic significance of money, however, I had a batch of cookies to prepare, as I had her. I prepared a post-maritem dish since the women at the shelter deserved something exceptional. In my vehicle outside the legal office, I observed my relatives entering in their opulent automobiles through the large entrance. From my vantage point, I observed individuals convening in the conference room, already engaged in a dispute. Observing Camilla's impassioned gestures, she was likely asserting her claim to Aunt Lillian's art collection when my phone illuminated with a text from Chelsea. The vulture is circling, yet you remain oblivious. I responded and then added a photograph shows Derek forcefully striking the meeting table. I was not meant to be present, but I felt compelled to witness things unfold. The parking around the corner provided me with an optimal view of the event as the lawyer, Mr. Patterson, entered the room with a slender physique. They were anticipating my phone call, Sandra Mills. Are you observing? She inquired directly from my vehicle, indicating that they were ready to commence. Good, remain there, I responded. I want you to see their responses upon discovering that the folder contained only a letter, which Mr. Patterson examined. From this location, I could observe Camilla's face redden as he commenced reading. She abruptly rose from her chair, seizing the paper from his hands. This is it for her. The voice resonated through the glass. One page cannot encompass all, Quinn asserted. She covered her face with her hands as Derek paced the room like a confined beast. I opened my window to listen. This is the sole will we had on record, Mr. Patterson stated calmly. It merely indicates that all estate-related proceedings will be managed by another attorney, Sandra Mills. Who is Sandra Mills? Dirk's voice resonated. I have never heard of her, Quinn murmured. Why would Aunt Lillian take such action? Camilla retrieved her phone, likely searching for Sandra's name. This situation is perplexing, given the house's value in the millions. Where is the art collection and the investments, perhaps, Mr. Patterson? It is recommended that you contact Miss Mills. I am reaching out to our family attorney. Derek declared that this is absurd, we will challenge it. My phone vibrated once more. Sandra, it is time for phase 2. Please meet me at my office immediately. I have started my car. Camilla exited the building abruptly, mascara streaming down her cheeks. She was so engrossed in her phone that she failed to see. I noticed as I passed that Sandra's office was located in a modest building across town. Unlike the radiant tower my cousins were departing, she welcomed me with a loving grin and guided me inside her abode. She arrived at the office punctually, glancing at her watch. They should be calling any moment now when her phone rang, prompting her to answer. Speaker Sandra Mills inquires, this is Derek. What type of game are you engaging in? Where is our aunt's actual will, Mr. Hudson? I have been anticipating your call. Would you like to arrange a meeting? During the discussion, we insist on understanding the situation. Camilla said, we are her. Children, of course, Sandra said effortlessly. I am available at 4 p.m. Today you will all be attending. We will be present with our attorney, Derek. It is great. Please be informed. Be informed that your cousin Cy will be joining us. The line fell silent for a brief period before Quinn spoke. Discussed CIE, her relevance will be clarified at 400 p.m. She hung up and turned to me with a glimmer in her eye, saying, your aunt was correct regarding them. So let us prepare, as they will attempt to portray you as a manipulator who exploited an elderly woman, is showing signs of confusion. However, we have both the video and the letters. Documentation from the shelter, and 5 years of testimonies from witnesses of her volunteer activities, Sandra retrieved a substantial folder that her aunt had meticulously prepared over several months. Her intention was to impart a lesson. She also sought to safeguard you. I expressed my indifference towards the money in a subdued manner. I aimed to safeguard her legacy, of which the finances are a component. Sandra rectified my misunderstanding, and she placed her trust in you. My phone chimed with a group text from my cousins, prompting me to utilize it judiciously. Derek, any actions you took to manipulate Aunt Lillian will reveal your true intentions. Camilla, remain hopeful. Quinn, you are satisfied with yourself. This is not yet over. How could you perpetrate this? Sandra scanned the texts over my shoulder and grinned. They still believe this pertains to shall we reveal to them the true essence of the matter. I recalled Aunt Lillian's movie, her correspondence and her discreet efforts at the shelter. Indeed, I stated that it is time for them to be introduced. The actual Aunt Lillian and I dedicated the subsequent hour to examining paperwork and strategizing for the impending storm scheduled to arrive at 3:55. Sandra's receptionist informed me that all three individuals, along with their lawyer, have arrived. I took a deep breath and touched the lock that Aunt Lillian had given me last Christmas. Inside was a small note that read occasionally, "The most profound gift is revealing to individuals their true selves," as Sandra inquired while standing. I acquiesced with a nod. I straightened my posture, determined to finish what Aunt Lillian had started. The tension in the conference room was palpable as my cousins gathered. Camilla's eyes furrowed upon seeing her lawyer trailing behind her. While Derek ostentatiously adjusted his costly cufflinks, Quinn refused to meet my gaze. Let us proceed directly to the matter," their attorney commenced, but Sandra interjected. She raised her hand, indicating that before we commence, there is something you must observe. She arranged, a laptop was positioned on the meeting table. This video was filmed by Lillian 2 months prior, but was interrupted by an objection from their lawyer. Sandra responded calmly and strikingly, "We lack the means to authenticate the video's timestamp and notarization." Aunt Lillian's visage materialized on the screen, prompting Quinn to gasp in astonishment at her appearance. Healthier now than in her last days, yet the resolve in her eyes was undoubtedly, "My darling children," she said, "if you are observing this, I have realized that my will is not what you anticipated. You are likely feeling anger and confusion." Derek shuffled uneasily in his chair, possibly contemplating a challenge. "For years, I have observed you pursue rank and fortune, regarding kindness as a sign of weakness and compassion as folly, while you derided others." Camilla scoffed at the absurdity of her cousin's ignorance regarding her collaboration at the shelter every Tuesday. Mother would never scrutinize my calendar. Aunt Lillian persisted, perhaps foreseeing the weekly interruptions every Tuesday for a duration of 5 years. Consult the women at the shelter during this period. During country club luncheons, I was serving soup and providing guidance to abused survivors. Quinn's complexion had turned ashen. She muttered about gardening attire, mentioning that you indicated she was experiencing an unusual phase. I have bequeathed everything to my Aunt Lillian, as she alone comprehended. True prosperity includes shelter, housing, and investments, rather than superficial possessions. Not out of spite, but due to my confidence in her prudent use of it. "This is absurd," their attorney exclaimed. It was evident that she was being exploited. Sandra produced a substantial folder. "I have 5 years' worth of documentation. Documented volunteer hours, witness statements, and medical evaluations demonstrating that Lillian was of sound mind when she made these decisions. She was our mother." Derek struck his hand on the "all items were intended for us." I discreetly remarked that we should proceed with the remainder. Upon my initial utterance, Aunt Lillian's voice resonated around the room once more. "Nevertheless, I am presenting you with a singular opportunity. CIE offers directives for establishing a charitable foundation should you opt to engage in order to gain a comprehensive understanding of the task. You each have a role, the choice is yours. Continue to contend over it." The film concluded with silence. The room was packed with emotion. Camilla pointed at me, her mascara smudged. "Once more, you incited her animosity towards us." "Did I?" I retrieved my phone and began to scroll through it. Here are photographs of Aunt Lillian serving dinner at the shelter last Christmas. She is assisting a woman in relocating to her first apartment after escaping her abuser, and she is also providing financial education. Quinn, trembling, seized the phone and navigated through photographs during the literacy lesson for survivors. "Why didn't she inform us?" "Would you have heeded her?" I inquired softly, "or would you have disregarded her? You have performed precisely what you are currently doing. Pretend someone has influenced her. The will is irrevocable, as Sandra has indicated you can proceed. Challenge it, but you will ultimately lose and endure years of litigation while the Foundation's efforts proceed with you.